Today, I want to talk about one of the largest realizations I made um, to get the motivation to get sober. Not even like motivation, but realizing that I actually had a problem. Um, so basically, what I realized is other people are pretty much right. You know, not everybody can be wrong. There's no way that everybody that surrounds me in my life has an opinion of me that I disagree with myself and I believe they're wrong. There's no way that everyone around me is wrong. So, I did like a thought exercise. Pretend they're right. Let's look at it from their perspective, their bias, and see, could I even make an argument to prove their case? And basically, very quickly, you realize that whether it be the way I behave or the fact that I'm constantly in a state of like not knowing myself, like I don't know what I'm thinking or I'm not thinking really myself, right? I don't know what I'm really doing, what my plans are. I'm not moving with any type of intention within my own life. I clearly act in ways that show that I have no self-respect. So the fact that I expect other people to treat me well or have good thoughts of me because I like help them or like I'm nice or whatever is messed up to begin with. So people are basically right, and I learned a lot about myself through the opinions others had of me. I realized, like I just said, I didn't have a lot of self-respect. That is, I wasn't taking care of myself. I had very little discipline. It's not that I had very little discipline. Like if I really wanted to, I could exercise discipline. But the issue is, I felt like there was no need. I had no desire to improve myself, exercise any type of discipline, or really create anything that could improve my situation. I was content with, the misery that was my situation. And yeah, it was sad. Like looking back on it, it's just like such a defeatist mentality. And, it's not even like living. That's just existing. That's survival. That's not life, right? And here's another thing, because there was also this too, where people don't actually, where people haven't met you or seen you enough to actually form an opinion of you, right? And they just go off of what others are saying. And sometimes you've already implemented change now and are no longer behaving in a manner that you were, right? Like, people change, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. And people will still have negative opinions of you or treat you like how you used to be. And that's something like I'm dealing with now. Like, I really don't know how to combat it effectively. I could probably make another video on that later, but it confuses people, and then because it confuses people and you don't know whether to take offense or, you know what I mean, as a compliment, because people are treating you, or at least people are treating you the same, but you can tell that that's not what they're intending to do. Like they just don't, you can tell that they don't know how to, talk to you, or they see you changing, right? So like think about it, they see you changing. They see that you're no longer the person that you were, but they also clearly see that, you're clearly in the process of change and don't even fully understand who you are yet. So it's just kind of like everything kind of gets wishy-washy in terms of personal dealings, relationships, and stuff like that. One thing I can say is if you already have a rough idea of what you no longer want to put up with in terms of yourself. And, you know, like for me, I was no longer willing to put up with my desire to drink. That was done. I was like, I'm sick of this shit. This endless thought loop of as long as I have more, I'll be okay. Oh, well, here's another problem in life. Well, nothing a handle can't fix. And just constantly drinking. I was done with it. I was done with feeling like shit in the morning. Even though when I would feel like shit in the morning, the solution was always the same. The solution and the cause of all my problems and the solution to all my problems was alcohol. Feel like shit, alcohol. Feel great, drink. You know what I mean? I'm late for work, drink. I'm early for work, drink. I have time to kill, drink. I'm bored, drink. I'm busy, drink. Everything, drink. It doesn't matter what was going on. That was a guaranteed constant in my life. And I was done. I was done. I had finally, honestly believed in my heart of hearts that it was causing more problems than it was solving. Yeah. And when you know that and you set those like boundaries with yourself and no longer put up with your own shit, it becomes a lot easier for people to recognize that you're not going to put up with their shit. And then, you know, people don't bother you with, being condescending or, trying to remind you of past actions of yourself. And they will. Like, I mean, there's obviously people out there who are always going to try and hold you hostage or make you feel like you haven't done what's necessary for change and that you're still that scumbag that you were last year. But as long as you use that as reason to continue growing and not, be like, oh, well, fuck it. I mean, I've done too much shit to come back from. I may as well just go back to my old ways. And then it gets easier over time. But yeah, I guess my whole point is everybody always says, oh, forget what other people think, who cares what they think, don't listen to them. And it's like, I get that, that has a time and place. I understand that, you know what I mean? Sometimes you just have to do what's best for you, regardless of what other people may perceive you as. But at the same time, not everybody around you is wrong, Sometimes people are justified or have good reasons to like have a negative opinion of you, and it's up to you to accept that as true and fix yourself, because that's essentially just feedback, right? The way people treat you is just feedback to your own behavior or feedback to how you treat yourself. So if you're getting this feedback, right, and not acting on it, or better yet, doing the opposite, like continuing the behaviors that reinforce, people's negative treatment of you, it's not going to get any better, right? It's just going to be, now you've created a feedback loop in which nothing gets solved, everything gets worse, and it never gets better. Or you begin to change, right? Change the way you treat yourself, change the way you think, right? Change the places you spend time around, it always starts with like the simplest things, right? And for me, it was essentially like people, places, and things. Change where you work, change the places you spend your time in outside of work, school, and like whatever, the gym. Find like, I guess, like a hobby of some kind, even if it's with people that you don't have to see in person, like even just gaming or whatever. I mean, that has its own problems too. You know what I mean? Spending hours on a video game a day is not exactly the greatest habit either. But take the latter, like, you know what I mean? Like going and spending my entire life drunk is a lot worse than me gaming for a few hours. So, yeah, basically social aspect was the most important for me, because I would like push everybody away from my drinking, and I would like create that feedback loop I was just talking about. So people, places, and things are like the starting point for change, because they'll help you break the cycle of just like autopilot behavior, and then you can honestly try and be more intentional about how you want to come across, how you want to treat yourself, who you want to be, all that good stuff. So yeah, basically understand that people's opinions of you is essentially your fault. It's how you came across, right? And it's not always the best idea to just write them off because you know you don't want to deal with others' feedback. Sometimes that's important stuff that you should take accountability for and recognize is rooted in some kind of truth. Anyway, good luck, Sam.